gun just speeds things up. Surprise!
There's my favorite jazz singer.
Candles are lit, they walk in through the door, clad in silken robes, the lamps on the floor. Pursuit of power, fireworks and stars.
speeds things up. Surprise!
There's my favorite jazz singer.
Candles are lit. They walk in through the door, clad in silken robes. The lantern.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Collegiate Deadlock Twitch channel. I'm your host Baffles, joined by the lovely Orbital. Orbital, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Excited to be back. It's been a very long time since I've been on the college deadlock scene, but I've been around in the deadlock area for a while, and I'm glad to be back here, closing out the regular season.
All right, and just like you said, we're closing out the regular season this week. We've got TAMU versus U of T. So this will be a matchup that's going to really determine who gets third place, who gets fourth place in this group. It's going to be pretty close. Both of these teams will progress over into the first round of playoffs. They don't need to participate in our last chance qualifiers. So this is mostly just determining the seeding in which they do. So on the hand of University of Toronto, we've got Styler, Dream Lion, Misclicked, Big Fat B, Johnny, and Fractal. Versus from Texas, they got Gigabyte, Macro Jesus, Pissed, Plague, Janali, and Encore.
Yep, and reiterating, this is the Texas A&M, the Maroon Squad to come out here. They are in Group 1. That's where we're looking right now. This is the group that had NU, GMU, UNL, obviously these two, and then CSU as the entire core here. And as you said, all these teams have already qualified in, but I do feel like seeding matters a lot more than I think some people give it a lot of credit for. Placing a little bit higher, at a third place position does allow you a little bit more preferential treatment in terms of the following matches. So I think it's very important that they do take it seriously, even though it is a best of 2. It can go 1-1, it can go 0-2 or 2-0, to make sure to kind of give it your all here, even if it means, maybe only going up one place instead of, qualifying, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And the way that the current scoring sits, U of T is sitting marginally ahead of TAMU. So TAMU will need to win both of the matches tonight to give themselves the opportunity there to overtake U of T in their following match.
Yep. It'll take a little bit more for them to push a little bit onwards, and I am very curious for TAMU. They're a squad that sits quite highly on their ranked ladders. They have been, known to be prone to using a lot of the newer heroes as well. I think Rem was a big one.
Yep.
I thought was really fun to watch for. Rem obviously having some of the more fundamental movements around the map. I've heard inklings of some Dorman in there as well, but that one's left up to be decided. I think that one's more just general flex between some of the players that want to get a little bit crazy with it. But I am very curious to see what the compositions are going to be specifically for this opening match, as well as some of the bands to come on out.
Yeah, and also notably, right, we had that big deadlock patch about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago, and TAMU, they didn't participate last week in the Deadlock Collegiate. They had to reschedule their match, so they're doing 2 matches this weekend. So we really have not seen what this roster is able to do on the new patch, and like you said, they're always using up those new heroes. I'm sure they're going to be able to really take advantage of a lot of those like big brand new reworks that we got.
Yeah, and the fact that, I come from League of Legends, I'm no stranger to massive patch notes. I'm no stranger to taking 2.5 hours, 3 hours to go through a patch note reading. I will say I am loving the level of Deadlock commitment to trying to balance the game out, bring a little fresh take, update old heroes to fit newer formats as well. I think that's something that's very difficult to do, and them doing it early showcases that even your favorite heroes will get adjustments, and you are forced to optimize and adjust, whether that means dropping the hero in a meta competitive format or bringing it up. One of the big things is there are minor tunes to a lot of the abilities, but also gun damage output. A lot of the items got tuned specifically, and a lot of people had to lab out these things, and I gotta agree with you. For a team that has had to reschedule a few times, if we're looking in there, for the side of, I believe it was TAMU that still, I think it was TAMU that still had to get a couple matches in.
Yep.
If you haven't actively practiced and you're still running on your pre-patch compositions, there's a very high chance you almost just kind of kneecap yourself. in a very
Yeah.
big way. So I 100% agree with you. If we're watching TMU and they haven't been labbing out, they haven't been hitting the practice, and they haven't been scrimming, then I would be very worried for how their performance here tonight will be affected. Granted, I also assume they've been practicing. I mean, they're the Maroon squad. They have a whole other TMU squad to play against. Assume they have been practicing as well and prepping for these matchups.
Yeah, there's really a lot going into this. When we look at, if you've been paying attention to the night shifts recently, it feels like the hierarchy has almost been flipped on its head. Although there are still some people that come through almost like nothing happened, right? We have the great return of Kelvin, for example. Kelvin fell off for a week or two before Valve saw their baby and brought
I
it
was
back
about
up.
to say, I don't know what you're talking about falling off when it was like a very, very like
Yeah.
gentle bunny, bunny divot or whatever.
Yeah. There's Kelvin there, and then we also have, Paige and Rem sort of took a little bit more of a backseat recently. We saw Mo and Krill, shoot to the atmosphere, and now they've sort of come down a little bit, although we have seen them making just a massive impact. Wraith, obviously, with her rework. We still have a lot of our classic M1 carries that you're going to be able to see all week round. So lots of interesting ones, and I'm being told that the draft is ready to go underway. When we're looking at draft priority, the formula has sort of changed quite a bit. Before the patch, it was a lot of frontliners. You will want to lock in your Silver, Abrams, Billies. But now, that emphasis on frontline has sort of been taken away a little bit. It sort of opens the door to see what you want to trade. We have U of T. They choose to ban out the Wraith, and Texas with the Calico.
Yeah, just like you said, it's a little bit more of a trade out. You're trading out the DPS or the primary DPS sources in there, the M1 carries as you love to call it, which I highly appreciate that term. It's understandable. Gun damage is a huge part of the game, obviously, and they've tuned it to be a lot more impactful while negating a lot of the safeguards that used to be in there. It becomes a little bit more of a gamble. So Calico, you can reap a lot of those benefits if given the right opportunity. I know some people were talking about Mina obviously coming up in that same sort, but immediately knocked around a little bit inside of that, inside of the recent post-deadlock patch system. It's been so up and down in what they want to do, but there's that Mo and Krill that you mentioned for University of Toronto. Immediately grabbing that one, you secure a little bit more frontline access, and whenever I see a team lock in any sort of frontline, I always assume it's like a double DPS to come out on the other side, generally just to try and give and take. It leads to very imbalanced compositions, but at the same time very fun compositions overall.
Yeah, Mo and Krill is definitely a character after the patch. So one of the major things that happened to this character to bring them to the place that they are is they reworked a lot of the AP order or the upgrades on the ultimate, giving it a bunch of extra damage, bunch of duration, bunch of lifesteal, most importantly. So Mo and Krill is a menace to try and duel, especially if they're able to catch you out one-on-one. And then we have Texas A&M. They're locking in Venator. Venator is a character that has evolved so much since they were first brought in. Initially, they were being built full gun damage. We're going to shoot you. We're going to rely a lot on that crossbow ultimate. But more so recently, melee Venator has really taken that spotlight, especially with max gunshot first. You're able to get that blessed true damage melee, and it will absolutely shred you no matter what you build against it.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen stories of watching just Venators rip through everyone in that same instance, and when you pair it with a Victor, the sustainability and the routes that you have mid to late game of just team fights will occur, whether you like it or not, whether you're trying to force a solo gank or anything like that. There will be time for TMU Maroon to rotate to get to that team fight and create a little bit more impact in there, especially with the likes of getting caught out by a Mo and Krill, very specifically Victor having that revive passive or ultimate, very, very powerful and kind of negating any sort of catch potential. It limits the options for a Mo and Krill. And so right now, with that double kind of build up in the front line, I want to see a little bit more frontline access as well. University of Toronto now going for the chain gang style with the Billy. Makes sense. Again, with the Mo and Krill, it can lead to very destructive front end engagement. Now, we have seen Billies actually wane a little bit by going a little bit too hard. It's usually supplemented by the Page, so if we don't see the Page, I am worried what they're going to pair with the Billy, especially in lane and when it comes to engage, because Mo and Krill is nice. it doesn't give the same sustain that a Page would at the end of the day.
Yeah, while he is able to take a lot of abuse, there is still, a lot left to be desired. Ultimately, though, it is a pretty decent back and forth if you're looking at both of these teams. I wouldn't say one of them is necessarily losing out too much, although, having that victor, having that insurance towards the late game is going to be nice for Texas A&M. University of Toronto are A-okay with taking this trade, and that also means we likely won't see an Abrams. And Abrams has been everywhere. Now, you could still, and you could really rely on a lot of that Brawley front line, but that does open the door to it. Now, University of Toronto, they're locking in the Sinclair. They have an amazing Sinclair player on the roster, and especially, when you give them, 2 great ultimates to play with right off the bat, and definitely more to come, given who's meta, that is very scary to look out for.
Yeah, 100%. You don't want to get into the world of, hey, I'm going to get kind of sleeped out. I'm going to have some issues following up behind. And being able to grab some of those other abilities with the Sinclair is brutal in there. You get basically this variety pack, this jack-in-the-box that will surprise you every turn. Texas A&M, yep. I am looking at them as the Maroon squad. I want a little bit of damage out here. Before we get the next ban coming in, I want to see see at least one DPS come out for them. I don't want to see them be so scared having to draft all this frontline and backline safety before things go south. I want to see them bring, like you said, maybe an Infernus. Maybe if you're going a little bit long range, you get really silly with a Vindicta or a Mina. You could try and play that angle, but I need DPS here because U of T, I'm at least going to play on my own head and on my own thoughts. They're going to go for a secondary DPS ban. They're just going to go, hey, if you're not going to pick one up now, we'll just roll you out one more. And McGinnis can bring damage. I know Soren is going to be so happy about that, but I'm not cool with the McGinnis. Oh, and the reason that we're wondering is because it looks like it was actually a Viscus locked in, not the Victor in there. I want to get confirmation on that, but that did change.
Yeah, so I am hearing from production that it was a Viscus, not a Victor, and that does change quite a bit about how this draft is playing out. So Texas A&M locking the Viscus. Viscus is a very powerful utility character. You build them for the spirit. You build them into that hybrid sort of playstyle. You can definitely get a lot of mileage out of them, and it's really good, strong flex pick to get early on in the drafting phase. When it comes to McGinnis, though, so there is this little underground McGinnis strategy where the ultimate that was buffed in the recent update goes absolutely bazonkers. It does so much damage. It movement slows you. It will, toss you around. And especially, and I've heard that it's, almost overtuned enough where if you go Unstoppable Rush, you can still get a lot of value out of the character as like a spirit damage nuker in team fights.
I will leave it to the players to prove to me that McGinnis can do that. I've also heard some nasty doorman tech recently with being able to float multiple characters in through your door very carefully. So if we're throwing out some sort of underground tech, we'll have to see it on screen. But I do agree that if you're gonna run the McGinnis, it better be good. And I will sit there, and if you're picking it now, I hope that that's gonna work. Now we're getting a lot of that utility taken away. But on the other side, it's an immediate Silver Hair ban. The Ivy, though, Texas A&M Maroons saying want to deal with you kind of dropping in the air support following through. So I can agree with that one.
Yeah, Johnny from U of T is a very big Ivy player, very big Ivy fan, has played it very much since the recent update, so I can definitely see why they would take that off the board. When it comes to Silver, previously she was, first pick, first ban. Now we sort of find her, trailing behind and falling back in that pick priority. U of T are making a good decision here to ban it out. Not only can Sinclair not take as much advantage of it due to his kit not scaling with bullet damage, but also Silver is going to provide a lot of that DPS and pick potential that Texas A&M really need to lock down their squad.
Yeah, but because that Silver's now banned away, it is leaning more into that factor that I talked about, this more DPS focused ban system. Texas A&M almost feel forced into gathering a bunch of these safe lock pieces. Now, obviously, Venator in that first pick position has a damage, do not get me wrong, but I like to see a bit more. I'd like to see a little bit more punch in my opening draft, and I feel like there are so many utility pieces that you can pick afterwards. Coming back, the baby of Deadlock, pretty much. Always going to be viable, always going to have a nice little foundation to work with. It is a grab up of a lot of the utility. You are banking on Texas A&M being able to elevate this Venator and McGinnis to a higher standard. You're also assuming University of Toronto will always engage on you in a larger facet. So I never like hinging on the opponent should do this so we can do this. I always like watching teams be able to bring a fight to the opponent in a way that says, I'm going to do this, so you respond this way.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot riding on here, and like I said, I mean, Texas A&M, they're locking in the counters before they lock in their primary damage dealers, and you know, U of T, they were going to whip out the pocket. I was just about to comment on that before it was done, but this is such a good pocket game. You have so many sources of healing on your enemy team, and you know, with the recent changes, Pocket now has a 100% anti-heal on the ults. And the only thing in the game that is currently capable of ultimate-based debuffs is Divine Blessing. Or Divine Barrier, one of the two. So you either do that, or you grab Counter Spell and you rely on the skill check of being able to parry during a team fight when you hear the little frog sounds coming up for Pocket's briefcase.
You gotta listen for the plague to roll on through. Apparently, that's a horrendous thought in there. Just wait for the frogs to croak, and then hey, you're good to go. University of Toronto, though, I'm really liking their build out here. Again,
Yep.
And there's a very nice Warden. Go ahead and bring that to your own. Now all of a sudden, that Sinclair is going to have so much more freedom to play with the eyes being drawn to the pocket and the Warden in there. And you just got to round it out with, I think, a very sharp edge at the very end. You have enough DPS for University of Toronto. You have a lot of good catch potential, and you're looking at Texas A&M. You're never really gonna have to worry about them, you know, jumping on you as cleanly with the DPS. You're more looking at them, how well can they scatter and absorb your blows. I love this Shiv pick though for Texas A&M Maroon. The bleed is so powerful. If you're in a situation where you have to stall out a little bit longer, it can still work. You can pair well with the Venator, who is looking to kind of lay those final blows in there, bleed them dry, get the final blows, and you're good to go. So Texas A&M starting to give me a lot more hope for the composition than I had prior.
Yeah, but on the flip side as well, it really feels like you're stuck in this hell of your own making, where now that you've committed so hard to this idea of regeneration, that you're, you know, spamming your frontliners, now you have to almost pick a Shiv in here. You also lock in the Yamato, who's a really strong Spirit Bruiser, and now you have this team that, you know, you committed to very early on that's still very vulnerable to all of the themes that University of Toronto have going in.
Yeah, it's a little bit danger in there. Last round, there's a page that I mentioned before. This now elevates the Billy to a little bit higher status in terms of what they can get away with in terms of engage. Normally, I think we see the Billy and the Page rock out in the same lane, and it becomes just indomitable. The Page being able to throw down a lot of those usages, priming the lane for the Billy to kind of roll on through. I like what University of Toronto have currently built for themselves. I also like what you said. TAMU Maroon, they kind of just patch it together at the very end. That pocket, I think threw them for a little bit of a loop. I will say though, they have very fun pop-off heroes. If a Venator pops off, it's terrifying. You walk around, you get one shot pumped, and you're just like, dude, not cool. You look at the Shiv, you get chased down by Shiv, it's not cool. It snowballs out of control. And if what you're saying about the McGinnis is correct, Soren will be pop and happy in his chair. I mean, we can have the chaos of the McGinnis wrecking shop down either lane that they choose.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of potential going into this. One big thing that I will point out is that University of Toronto, they're lacking a lot of that late game insurance. They do have a very strong composition, especially I do want to point out one of the weaknesses of Warden is he really spikes during that mid-game transition. But when you start to reach that super late game and you have the economy to start buying some of those counter items, you're able to get your plated armors, you're able to maybe buy a disarming hex or two, the character really becomes a lot less scary. So Texas A&M, it's a really long, slow burn from here. Meanwhile, University of Toronto, I'm really expecting them to come out of the gate swinging. They've always, historically had a very strong early game team. It just relies on who's able to execute this in the early game faster, and then the mid late game will have to depend on that.
Yep. I mean, I think for University of Toronto, they'll always start off very strong, and I hope to see even more of it because, again, this is your presentation towards the playoffs. A lot of teams are going to be looking at this and also hoping to glean some information of how do we want to pick you apart? How are we going to take you down moving further in for those future matches? Well, at the current moment, we'll have to wait and see. We are on to the Big Apple. Time to duke it out in the streets. Left lane will be held with 2. Mid lane will be held with 2, of course, as well. With the Sinclair and Warden paired up together. Mixing and matching here on the Big Railroad, looking to try and pin this McGinnis a little bit further back. That is paired up with the Mo and Krill, a combination that provides a lot of stalwart safety and kind of focus fire DPS. The Mo and Krill can catch someone.
Yeah, there's definitely a really good matchup in all of these lanes. It's very evenly distributed. I mean, particularly I want to call out, the Viscous and Venator are a really strong combo. We got Pockets and Mo and Krill, namely, are just really good at absorbing a lot of that pressure. And we also have a Burger Vox lane on the left side where you got a Kelvin Shiv in and bumping their heads into a Billy Page. There's going to be a lot of fighting there, I know for sure.
Liking the shots so far as well. Very quick snaps overall, and just trying to farm that up as much as possible. University of Toronto, though, getting a little bit gun check there for Dreamlion. Damage. Same with Mythor, both sitting well under 50%. Now, it's not too difficult to stay in the lane, but it can be dangerous if you play it a little bit too close to the vest. You see that dance out right now as you're watching Misclick do their best at holding the opponent off. 110 on the HP bar, though. Dreamline playing this one way too close. Don't think you like where you're at. Bleeding close to 20 HP. You are just playing in and out of the fire.
Yeah, that is some generational levels agreed there. You're sitting there with such low HP. You buy a Mystic Burst first, and then your Pocket takes the downfall for it, and now you have this Mo and Krill out in the open. Uses the healing ability, but it's not quite able to get more than just 50 health. Now it's going to be pressure under the tower. Viscous parries it. He's going to get a nice quick melee there. And it's going to be an early double kill for Texas A&M.
And I mean, that one's kind of expected, right? You can't be floating with like 50 HP for so long and not expect someone to try and tower dive you. Like,
yeah.
you really can't do that. It's getting a little bit ballsy. It's getting a little bit cheeky with it. At the same time, you don't lose too much. One kill in the laning phase is not the end all be all. It's when you start giving 2 or 3 that you have to be a little bit worried about the souls count heading into your opponent's hands. We go over and glance at this Yamato for Texas A&M University Maroon. It'll be Gigabyte handling that hero, and you mentioned this kind of mid-range, mid-game bruiser to come out with the spirit damage. Yamato can carry pretty dang well if given the right opportunity. We'll have to keep up on that farm count for them later.
Styler went for a really greedy box route up in the opponent's jungle and was spotted out by the Viscous, so I was going to get chased around. Not going to be quite as efficient, and also gives the opportunity there for Gigabyte and Encore to really do a lot of damage to this blue lane tower. Now the Viscous is just continuing to fight deeper and deeper into this jungle. It's an interesting decision to make, right? Because you're winning the lane off of the early game. You're able to give yourself a little bit of soul lead, but then you're going to lead to, instead of start to snowball your lane, go out and really chase down some of those stragglers from mid.
Yeah, give yourself a little bit more time to find those extra kills on the back end. But so far after that first kill, it's been relatively quiet. Everyone's kind of dancing, but no one's dropping each other lower than about 20% off the HP bar, I would say. Especially not with the big ticket ultimates up just yet. It's signature abilities out and about. There's the Arctic Beam to try and frost someone off and slow down their movements. Not much really handled though, because right now a lot of these creeps are just flooding in and dealing damage to those guardians. The guardian damage will start to rack up over a few minutes.
Yeah, plenty of early game views both these teams are able to handle, especially since I'm betting you that both of these supports are going to be locking in that egg. I already saw it from the Kelvin. Reducing their own damage at the cost or for the trade-off of being able to get yourself some juicy buffs later on. Now we have a little bit of a contestation here. Texas A&M are going to fight here over the gun buff, or sorry, that's casting buff for the Yamato. Very, very strong for her. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, I didn't quite catch it, but I think it was the pocket. Big Fat B was able to pick up that buff.
Yep, it's a nice little pickup on the buff count, and you head on back to your lane and go, cool, that's stage 1. We're gonna have stage like 17 down the row in terms of picking up some extra charge handled by the McGinnis, getting a little bit extra on that spirit with the damage output. Another K for the right side as well, as the Benedor is getting a little bit of help from Pissed Macro Jesus. Gonna be running that one. Iradomini bringing out those major stakes. Trying to swing for the extra damage if they can. Only marks 1 though, not much else. However, in the same breath, TMU Maroon able to mark Johnny, who goes down on the far end. Feels a little bit bad for them.
Yeah, just that ramping up of the damage there from Texas A&M. You're not quite able to handle it. The Page doesn't have a cleanse in her kit. So once those Shiv knives start racking up, they're able to deal 200, 300 damage to you just through bleed alone. Was what led into her early demise. However, here we see on the middle lane, we have the McGinnis caught off guard, and wow, those bolts are able to do a lot of damage early.
Yep, there's a spike that we were waiting for. It took them a little bit of time, but able to knock down 1, and not only that, create a little bit more space. After that kill, they immediately pressured up for some damage. It's down to about 50%, and that's what you want to see. So for the University of Toronto, you're still up about 2-3k in the souls. It should hopefully balloon a little bit further on when you play a little bit harder as well. Far end, we're seeing some dangerous numbers come out, but the extra health, extra bonuses, extra damage all around bring you to favor. Pocket though running for their life as Dream Lion gets caught out in the middle. Viscous going into the cube as quickly as possible. This dance and fight from University of Toronto might have to be healed on the right side of the Macro Jesus. Doesn't want to follow through on that one.
Yeah, there's a denial that Viscous is so good at, being able to cube their teammate in the middle of a combo. Really deny the opportunity there for an early kill. But yeah, now that we're, zooming on over to the middle lane, what almost turned very, very sour for McGinnis is able to be retreated from without too much consequence. I will say there is a little bit of counter synergy between the Sinclair and the Warden, given that if you, turn someone funny, they do move a little bit faster, but that doesn't seem to be a problem for this coordinated duo just yet.
No, not at all. We'll have to wait and see how it pans out as we get a little bit of the airwalk ice being brought out to make a pathway for that Kelvin. They're going to try and chase on up, but Gigabyte is able to take out one of the Guardians. We'll lose a teammate in response, though, as Encore goes down. Macro Jesus also in that same position of possibly dying, but Dream Lion makes that possibility a reality. 2 marks down, looking down against them. Toronto, though, very focused on punishing the opponents for their over-aggression for the Guardian.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shaky start there, but they're able to find their footing, and now with the Sinner Sacrifices spawned in, we already see that Dreamline is able to steal away just 1 from their opponent's side. And the next move, of course, is to start to worry about denying the enemy from stealing yours. Right? We have the doubles that are coming up. We have there's no rum on the board, so there's not going to be too strong of an opportunity to deny your opponents. So both of these teams, after they're going to take their Guardians, are going to kite their way backwards.
And for TMU Maroon, it's a lot cleaner takes on those as well. Clearing 1 in the mid, looking to get a little bit more on the right side. It's only the left side Guardian that they're still taking time getting. Marks for University of Toronto, though, as they've been trying to push that right and left side lane. It's hard. They just kind of been focused on getting the kills, and whenever they get the kills, they lose out on the HP department. They have to back away, and they have to start the whole cycle over once more. 9.5 minutes in, as Watch this McGinnis get a catch onto Sinclair. Looks like Styler might have stepped out a little bit too far for their own liking, and the chase down gives Pissed a kill for themselves. Very nicely done by the side of Tim Yu Maroon.
That is an incredibly big bag too. 660 souls straight out of Styler's pocket. That's definitely not something you want to see. Although we do still have, Misclick being the primary for this team, still has a lot of souls in it right now. The next big play is going to be happening here onto this left side lane. We see an overstack from UFT. It's going to be 3 members, not quite able to get any clean so far, although the skirmish is just starting.
I think with skirmishes, as you said, just starting here, it's going to be a whole dance over this urn. Quick pickup by the Moat and Krill, but they say no dice on that one. We're going right into the Ice Dome. Everyone's brought in. The Shadow transformation being used by Gigabyte. Will it bring the damage around? Texas A&M are saying yes, it will. Quick punch and blow will hold University of Toronto in place, but the turnaround is massive here as John Nolly loses their life. Dream Lion comes out with a bit more than just CC. Johnny will pick up the urn once more as Big Fat B marks one more as Macro Jesus goes down. The blades will fly, but not enough damage as University of Toronto will get just about everything in that battle while only losing 1 member.
Oh, that was an incredibly scrappy fight there. I wasn't aware that was going to go at any stage of points, but there's UFT's team fight composition, right? They had the pocket ult, they had the Mo and Krill combo to start locking you down, and now they're able to reap those rewards. The urn was a little bit slow on being run over, so there is going to be an opportunity for the denial. We do see that Texas A&M, they're in full force.
I think that damage will be in more ways than just the force. Encore rolls right through Fractal's arms. Misclicked in that time is able to take 1 more Guardian, but is it really going to be enough? Damage abound by Texas A&M is starting to get some in here. Johnny goes down once more as Styler. This Sinclair is starting to make their mark on the stage. With that, another kill going through. The urn dropped on the back end. University of Toronto just looking. Who else wants to jump in the firefight?
Yeah, they're definitely going to want to move fast with this, though, because now that the urn has been out for so long, it's going to start ticking and damaging your own team. It looks like they're going to be taking the initiative here. Yamato getting caught out. The Mo and Krill is 9 seconds away from their combo. It's going to be a massive 3-man bunny. Yamato falls first. Now it's going to be a full-blown retreat. Billy hunting down this Viscus. Is he going to be able to finish him off? The parry does go through, and it does catch the Billy off guard. Plague gets taken down on that Kelvin. And it's an absolute disaster in this right lane.
Well, disaster for who? Really? I mean, University of Toronto, that was great. We just watched them completely collapse in on Texas A&M. Texas A&M were not ready for it at all, and they lose so many members. The left side lane was there, of course, but it was held by Macro Jesus, and Macro Jesus is one of the main DPS that needs to be with the team so far. The only one, or secondly to Encore, who has 11,000 souls to their name on the team. So University of Toronto making quick use of these opponents. You called them out, saying for University of Toronto, their early game tends to be very controlled, very coordinated. We're seeing it here, getting close to about 20k or closer to about 15,000 in their favor. They're really hoping that can increase over time, allowing you to make a march towards that mid boss.
Yeah, now for the next couple minutes, this is going to be a bit more of a slow burn. Like you said, the mid boss is coming up, but that won't be for until 15 minutes. And then usually teams at this level will really struggle to take it until 20 minutes, unless there is, another one of those big 5-man team fights around the urn. But, coming up next, right, I'm looking to see some of these big buys coming through from Misclick. Misclick has 3,000 souls in the bank. They're queuing up a tier 4 item already. These are the sorts of purchases you want to see come through from your carries. And when we're looking at Texas A&M, we want to see, this Yamato that's starting to fall behind. We want to see the Shiv start to come back into this game. And I am still waiting to see, Encore really go off with that McGinnis ult.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen the full pop yet. Maybe there's a little bit more in the. I love that setup. Currently only holding 2 out of the 4 abilities there for Encore. You want the ult? We'll get the ult here rolling at some point. University of Toronto, though, very deep spread as they look to take down yet another walker for themselves. They broke open the mid. Right side might be the main test. At least in the mid, I do apologize here. Sinclair having to run away right now, and Styler just doesn't want to sit. Right side currently valued with 3, though. And University of Toronto are constantly applying pressure, whether right, mid, or everywhere is under fire. And Texas A&M University Maroon have to pick a lane.
Yeah, that's clear bolt damage onto the walker. They're basically two-shotting it. Was crazy. Gonna make a quick escape from that one, and we see the combo here come out onto the Viscous. Pists is just not really going to have a way to get out of this, although they do treat back Dream Lion. I guess they didn't have enough fuel in the tank to finish off that Kelvin, or the Viscous.
Granted, Viscous is going a lot more supportive build right now with that Spirit in there as well, so it makes sense. Try to over-aggress. We mentioned before for Texas A&M University, their composition knows how to soak up damage. It's just, are they given the opportunity to do so? Really nice turnaround where they gave Macro Jesus a chance to knock out Misclick, and just like that, a couple more souls into primary carries.
Yep, now it is a comeback earn for Texas A&M, given that they're more than 10% behind. Chiv here just over-aggressing a little bit too much. They're really trying to get that first Guardian, and we could potentially even see a little bit of bait action, right? We have Texas A&M. They're positioning very aggressively to try and catch this Bone Krill off guard. But we do see the Shiv is able to make it back out to safety.
I think right now we're kind of holding off, waiting for the next big movement. As you can see, the boons are arriving here shortly, and actually have already been claimed 4 minutes on the next spawn. I think is where everyone's eyes are currently looking. One big fight could really enthrall the opponent and maybe cause them to overstep, giving the opportunity to the other side. University of Toronto don't want to allow that to happen. They're currently in the lead in terms of the souls, in terms of pressure. If they can keep this up, they can kind of force TMU Maroon into dangerous positioning, take advantage, go to the mid boss afterwards, or maybe just grab the extra on the out, open up some more spots for themselves.
The the earn pickup to deny is a good idea. We're really starting to see that now that Texas A&M, they're starting to get those comeback souls. They're starting to close that gap. You now have locked yourselves into having to defend this earn for the next 3 minutes before it is able to reset. Now U of T, they are going to lose their last remaining Guardian, and they're forced a little bit more to play that team. They do have a lot of investment going into Misclick, going into Big Fat B, but they're not quite able to get any significant leads off of that just yet.
No, they'll just slowly try and accrue it up as much as possible. I think they kind of got scared after the fact that Macro Jesus came swinging after a bit, recognizing that Macro Jesus currently has 20k in the bank as well. Here comes a chance, though, as Styler recognizes that maybe they overstepped their joint. They need to go ahead and step back. The assistant will come on out, but teammates are well underway here, too. They'll back away and eat a lot more damage on that burn, though, down to 873. Not exactly what you want to see happen behind your own walker. It's a good job by Texas A&M to push the Sinclair a little bit further out here. Comes, though, on this 5 currently here to face off against the McGinnis. No dice on the kills just yet, though.
A potential collapse here onto Warden is forced to retreat. And it was a good read from him, honestly. Now, the earn is available for Texas A&M. That's definitely not something you want to let go lightly, but what can you do when you're 1v2 as an M1 carry in that situation?
A little bit of an earn run can fix just about any stagnation in the game. Texas A&M going to pick that one up, try and chase it back to their side of the battlefield. Obviously, this is going to be in their favor. That helps lead a gap. Maybe down to about only 2k difference. A lot of Spirit damage obviously built up at University of Toronto. Still waiting for Macro Jesus as they're sat between a little bit of Vitality and the gun damage overall. Here comes a big chance, though, as 3 currently corralled around for University of Toronto. Another pinch coming around the right side. As a big chase for the Shiv can be powerful. But are they actually going to get the question. There's a lockdown. Quick punches come out. No parries to threaten. But here's the flip on the other side. This is misclicked. Running for one, but pissed. Dropping Dream Lions like it's hot. It's only one right there. I believe they slowed down what would have been an earn purely. Instead, it is going to be that rush and a half. And for Texas A&M, because they lost one on the right side, they have to go back and clean up the right side lane as well.
Yeah, that was an interesting play there, right? Dreamline taking the fall and Johnny narrowly really escaping death. And we look at the other side of the map as well, not being able to close off Janali. And this is a turn of events that Texas A&M, they've been hoping for. Now, we do have some really big buys here. We have the Warden that was just able to lock in, but it's such low HP, they're not quite able to finish the job. Now they're getting taken down inside of the teleporter. Texas A&M, this is the advantage that they were waiting for.
Yeah, I mean, the sustained battle, the timing of, hey, if you're not going to send everyone at once, we can slowly bleed you out. We have plenty of members that can sit here and sustain. Pistons done at one end with, they're just dancing into enemy territory. Final bash in the back of the head will lead to their doom, but not after drawing one away. University of Toronto, though, they're going to try and look for revenge. Quick grab of that urn. They're going to try and rush it over, but already Texas A&M Maroon are ready and waiting.
Yeah, there's that lead that we were talking about before, right? The 20k lead that we're talking about getting potentially into an early mid boss is just starting to evaporate like that. Now, U of T are still undecided on whether or not they're going to be able to pursue this urn to completion. Some of that damage, but the Kelvin is dropped down to just 200 HP. They're going to get finished off with no problem. And there's that duo from Texas A&M getting taken down. It's going to be 3 kills for U of T. They're chasing down a straggler. Can we make it 4?
I mean, I think they absolutely will. It's a solo piece of that table. Gigabyte will fall. Friendly Walker on the far end will go down. That's the least of their concerns. University of Toronto with a beautiful collapse, able to wipe out 4, gather the urn as well. Massive souls increase for themselves. It feels like they've done very, very well to turn things around on its head once more. Texas A&M Maroon, a little bit frustrated that that happened here, and they were a little bit easier time on that push for the Walker.
Yeah, playing your hand a little bit too aggressively, and now U of T, they're able to take that opportunity to really bounce back. And now they're here on this double centers. They're securing their own to make sure that you can't get traded back with. And now we're back in a situation again where mid boss is in question. The urn is not going to be back for another 3 minutes. So both of these teams, they're going to be able to chill down, to farm up, take. We already see some really big counter items coming out too. We had the slowing hex and knockdown come through. But the Moan Krill is able to take a lot of abuse, really able to escape the Yamato there without much problem.
Yep, just kind of walk away here. That'll be a little bit of silence on the back end, but the fight coming in with the Viscous trying to save a teammate. Texas A&M University say, where's the fight? Let's find a Dream Lion rushing away for the safety. Fractal trying to run away with 240 HP. They will get to the lifeline, and the zipline will carry them on home. Dangerous movements, though, as University of Toronto recognize that they can't be caught out on their own as well. Watching kind of this collection around the left mid battlefields. Entirety of University of Toronto recognize that there were some expenditures and they're going to free fire a little bit more as Big Fat B is able to mark down Plague, and Plague will no longer be as frosty as they say, melted into a puddle. And now a catch on the McGinnis. Johnny with the knockdown on Encore. The 2-piece that'll also lose Big Fat B. The ending battle has left Texas A&M scrambling for their lives. The bunny has been made. Gigabyte sitting on about 200 HP. Pissed, running for his life as well. And University of Toronto will chase Texas A&M to the bitter end to get those souls.
Yeah, really big turn there, and we just saw how fast the U of T were able to collapse onto Kelvin, onto the McGinnis, and then chase things out further. And we did, harp on and on about how much healing, how much sustain Texas A&M had before, but the same is true for U of T. Fractal with that blasted is such a cockroach in the wall, and it's going to be a quick deny here. The Viscous Cube comes through, but U of T are able to secure that mid boss and, briefly take down the contesting Viscus as well as the Shiv.
Let's go to York.
And all the Reju beads go their way as well, so things have shifted dramatically over to University of Toronto. And I said it earlier, I said it earlier, Spaffles, when I mentioned it really does feel like both teams are just waiting for that one kind of opportunity to take over, take them to try and end the game. This is that chance, I feel like. Maybe not end the game, but at least break through the base guardians and get to those towers, start breaking through into the Arch Mother, and kind of get that game rolling here on the evening.
Yeah, a bit uncharacteristically almost. Both of the walkers are still, or 2 walkers are still up for both of these teams. So there is going to be quite a bit of roads for these teams to chew through. I wouldn't be surprised if University of Toronto invest the rest of the street getting one or the other, potentially both even, before they start cracking in those base guardians. But now that we're in the situation that we are, right, University of Toronto, they're not quite content yet to group up. They're not ready to take those big fights yet, so losing precious earn time.
I think for this earn rush, maybe you can see the Viscus off saying maybe I can chase that one, but for University of Toronto, it's all about just getting that Kelvin out of the way. There's the pickup, and I think for Texas A&M, you're like, uh-oh, I didn't want to run this way. I can easily be caught out. There's going to be a look, quick dash forward, slam down, tries to slow him. They are disarmed, but the Walker is still in the way, and he'll try and chase on by. You actually slow things down, but that cube is enough to deny even further. University of Toronto, they tried to set up a cheesy pick, and it doesn't go the way. Texas A&M come out with that earn.
Yeah, we're almost able to catch them out, but now since University of Toronto, they over-rotate onto that right-hand side, they're not really going to have an earn contest here, so long as Texas A&M doesn't take too long to deposit. We even see Stylar there getting a little forced out there by the Shiv. Although we have the Billy Page combo, they're going in deep. They're trying to fight before this gets dropped down.
That big can also be an or their own. University of Toronto try and lay everything down on the table, but Texas A&M were more than ready for it, dropping the McGinnis and so much more on the table, saying we have the ults just as well. Fractal is able to revive with that Reju bead, but the damage is a whole different story. There's a lockout number 1. Dream Lion finds Plague. The rest of Texas A&M trying to run for the hills. After those revives come through, Styler now on a 3-kill streak on that Sinclair. Great rebuttal, even though Texas A&M, in my opinion, had one of the best answers to the drop-in. University of Toronto are just that much further ahead.
Yeah, we even had a buy one, get 3 situation. You got misclicked on the other side of the map. The story of his life, just split pushing and getting those walkers down. While the rest of the team were able to earn, and the other walker, now he's getting collapsed on here by the Viscus, is able to drop him down to quite low HP, but that sustained from the ultimate. He's changing the world. His Reju does get popped out eventually. Now he is going to be fighting in a 1 versus 3. He's just buying out as much time as possible. The cage doesn't quite lock up the Venator, and now even though he's dropped down to 1 HP, the Toxic Bolts are able to finish him off.
Yeah, but you did buy enough time. Like you said, Spaffles, it was enough time to grab a base guardian. Now the base is currently broken for Texas A&M University, and you're still fighting with almost a 30k deficit. It's a painful thing to note, but that is the current position that you are in right now. So for University of Toronto, losing 1 member at the end of that macro trade ain't the worst thing in the world. What you are wondering about is who is going to try and stop you once more if you go in with that engagement. And are you going to win? Are you going to win an individual fight? That, to me, is a big calling card for something like the Warden. We want to see Misclick be able to 1v1.
Yep, and I think it's pretty telling there that Texas A&M, they're not comfortable sending in any of their members really into that 1v1 fight, right? Because that's where their strength is. Their strength as a team fighting comp, they want to out-sustain their enemy, they want to... they're, as a sum of their wholes, much greater than they are apart. Now the Goop Ball comes through there to sort of contend with the Billy. Is going to be an affliction inside of the Kelvin Dome, making sure that everyone gets tagged by the frogs. Piss down to just 1 HP, is able to escape with their lives, and Dream Lion gets caught again. They are going to be able to trade out for that McGinnis. So the ult is no longer a hazard, but it's going to be Styler's McGinnis ult here that is able to dish out a lot of damage on their opponent.
Yeah, I think right now that was a worthwhile trade because Big Fat B is now chasing and on the hunt. Texas A&M maybe don't like the outcome here. They thought they did, but the resounding deaths have been outside their favor. Thankfully, University of Toronto, I'm so sorry, had to chase out to the left side, clear that battlefield before losing another walker. And it feels like the University of Toronto, if they're able to get a lot of these waves under control and get another team fight, they will wipe out the base, and Texas will be on the losing end of a series.
Yeah, now, even though with the recent patch, they did introduce a lot of incentives for you to not fully take the base. If you're able to push the base and you're only able to get a shrine or 2 shrines or knock the patron, you're still going to be able to get yourself some niceties, right? Each shrine will it's the equivalent of sort of the super minions from League of Legends. You're going to buff your minions a little bit, so you have your waves naturally, and you're going to really force your opponents into being on that back foot macro wise for all of these objectives that are coming up. Now, speaking of objectives, we have the mid boss coming up in 45 seconds. We have UFT already grouping towards the left side of the map. They want to take this buff with no problem, and then potentially rotate over with the urn, or preemptively find a pick.
Looks like the Bunzo picked up, as you said. I do believe that mid boss will be the next calling card. University of Toronto did use it to kind of break down a fight in the mid, gave them a lot of space to work with. Now they're gonna try it one more time. They know who they have to wait for when the piss kind of drop off now. But if they find piss a little bit earlier, that could be a whole different story. Eyes out on this urn run. Texas A&M University don't want to give it over too easily. The Maroon Squad wants to challenge the middle of mid lane.
Yeah, now this urn drop off, if they choose to invest in it, can go very sideways for both of these teams. You're basically shooting into a fishbowl, given that there's very few ways in or out of this Thunderdome. So a lot of opportunity here for both of these teams. Texas A&M, they're shoving in pretty far, given that their lane has basically pushed up to where University's upper used to be. Like a little bit more plain, and you have a bit afraid they're not quite ready to deposit this urn.
No, they're gonna wait a little bit more. Can they bait anyone out? Can they draw a little extra fire? It doesn't look like Texas A&M are actually gonna bite at that just yet. And since they know the urn pocket is much further in their own territory, they don't have to chase further. They don't have to run into the enemy zone. So University of Toronto will just keep playing keep away. They'll keep trying. The wings a little bit closer towards the opposite side. Currently in a 1-4-1 position. And Texas A&M saying, okay, if we're going to slow down the game, we're going to slow down the game. Let's hit 200k. Let's get everyone up into that 30k range. Let's get some damage in us, is what they're hoping to say here.
Yeah, no, we do see potentially even a confrontation there as Styler and Dreamline narrowly avoid meeting up with John and Macro Jesus. Now the teams are, further retreating. Johnny fully committing to retreating that urn back to the base and just playing a game of ping pong with it. As, it just continues to be more of a slow burn. We have Fractal clearing out some of these turrets, not allowing the McGinnis to get too happy, too comfortable here. And we are looking potentially at a confrontation soon.
I think that confrontation is going to happen in ways that neither team will really enjoy. Whenever you have a situation, as you called it, a slow burn, or a situation where both teams become very stagnant, become very static in their movements, it ends up with one player kind of getting caught out, or being in the wrong place at the wrong time because they're just kind of autopiloting. It might happen here. That's gonna be a silencing. Do they catch? No. Great counter spell to come out through, but the damage is still massive. Nice rescue beam coming in here, but another drag closer to the battle zone as that poor Shiv is getting yanked every which way. The question is there a teammate to help them out? That's the team for Texas A&M Maroon. Hold within the way. And at the end of the day, it is John Ollie who was winning for the moment, but the Kelvin Dome dropped in one of the more worthwhile spaces. But worthwhile for who is a big question. University of Toronto are going to use that time to try and get some kills, but it's not in their favor. Gigabyte goes down, but not before taking 2 against Big Fat B and Dream Lion. That's the pocket and the Moen Curl down. That's enough for Texas A&M to kind of push their way towards that mid, maybe get some more reactionary kills for themselves. Sprout says it ain't gonna be that easy. We still have a lot of the punch. We still have that ability to close you out. You better be well aware of it. Corner held because of a simple stun. And that is just Misclick, who is now completely online.
Yeah, it was a really, really shaky fight to start with. Dreamline got caught out in that Kelvin Dome. Really struggled there, and even though Big Fat B hit a 3-man affliction, U of T had a lot of health to chew through just to continue to get the trades that they did. They did ultimately end up going positive. They got a trade 3 for 2, and now it is the Rejuve getting claimed. Now, the poor Viscus got stunned, got knocked into place, and now is going to be eventually saved by the rescue beam. Although, given that he is a ball, he did fall down a little bit down the stairs on the way. Gets taken down really, really late. That's 70 seconds on your respawn timer when the enemy team has 3 rejuves. That's not what you want to see.
Absolutely not. I fully expect University of Toronto to look to break into the base here a little bit further. Start looking at those shrines. Start looking at that chance of closing out this game. This earn run really doesn't feel like it's necessary at this point, but you might as well, I think, if you can. They are going to give it over to the Billy to run here. A little bit of a slide, a little bit of a dip, dash, and dodge. Outside of Pissed, everyone on Texas A&M is here to contest.
Yeah, I think given that how much the game was stagnating earlier, it does definitely make sense for U of T to walk in here with this earn. They are going to be met by Texas A&M in full force, or near that, given that they don't have the Viscus. Though the McGinnis wall is going to do little, but force themselves to path a little bit around it. Dreamline here getting separated a bit from the squad, thankfully does not get turned on. Now it's going to be a full-blown fight on the right-hand side.
We say full-blown fight, but it's all about knocking down those extra base guardians, just trying to make them a little bit weaker at the end of the day. They'll be able to clap a 1. At least, there it is. Sinclair was slowly away. 1 will go down. Oh no, it didn't heal up just in time, so they're holding off just for a moment here. Without some of those creeps, it takes a lot longer than you would really like. Finally, it goes down. Styler is able to rotate back with the rest of the squad. But these rejuves, I mean, Spaffles, they're just waiting. They're ticking down. We're waiting for them to be used here.
Yep. You got 2 minutes, and if you don't use it, you lose it. So I'm definitely expecting to see these teams come back and continue to fight using them. I do understand having a lot of cash in your back pocket, right? You win 2 team fights in a row, you're going to want to spend it, right? So now we have, the Bills from University of Toronto pretty much fully coming online. Notably, their Misclick 60,000 souls has multiple tier 4 items. Texas A&M, they're starting to build some of those counter items. They're getting the inhibitors online. The lightning scroll there from the McGinnis is another one of those infinity stones that can enable her builds. And there's just still so much left in the tank here for UFT.
Of course, what's not left in the Texas A&M's HP bar there. Poor Venador will get locked away by Misclick. You found a rabbit hopping. With that DPS gone, you can now push on this flank. It might not have the full push that you need, but it's enough to kind of bully everyone away. Misclick will sacrifice life for the rejuve to get everyone else in position. Janali very low, and bye-bye, they are gone. 80 seconds on that timer. Hiss will be the next, but they are able to retreat towards their base. 1 more friendly base guardian gone on the side of Texas A&M. University of Toronto. It's been a while, almost 35 minutes, but they're finally breaking in to the Sapphire Shrines, taking down those structures. We're seeing a little bit quicker reach if the Archmother loses that first HP bar. But University of Toronto feel like there is nothing that can stop them right now. Blade comes out here. It will be a last-ditch effort. Gigabyte trying to swing for the fences, but it's just to clear some of the minions and some of the creeps. They're just trying to hold themselves steady, but they're inside their own spawn, inside their own base, and it's University of Toronto just closer. Out comes the Kelvin Dome, slows everyone's pacing out even further. The Frost nipping at the heels, but Fractal was ready with the shot number 1. Archmother will be locked down here as it loses about 50% of that second bar. Rest of Texas A&M are going to fight on top of it. It's another Ice Stone being used, but Styler sold that one away. Styler marks out poor Plague, and down goes Gigabytes as well. Encore slow to follow. Texas A&M. The composition did not work. The stall did not work, and University of Toronto take game 1.
All right, good close out there from U of T. Those are the leads and advantages you see just snowballing further in throughout the match. And, I think that's just pretty much what we expected from early on, right? You see this team, they develop a 10, 20k soul lead in the early game, and even though A&M were able to close that gap, U of T, they still had the keys to kingdom. They knew the steps to success, and they were able to, continue to build it back up from there. Now we see their GP. I mean, if your eyes were on the screen there, I think that's absolutely obvious. The amount of damage to both the team as well as the objectives that he was able to do was incredible. And then, honorable shoutouts, of course, to Misclicked, the M1 carry, and we also have Encore there on the McGinnis. I think it was a good proof of concept.
It was, but proof of concept is not what you want to bring to the table when you're playing for your standings, lives, being able to play for that upper seed bracket. It's one to kind of behold here. You can take a look. Misclicked, earning a majority share of those accolades on the University of Toronto side. It's just Sinclair can bring a little bit more to the table in terms of burstability, in terms of that sustained DPS on the players. Well done overall here. For Texas A&M, though, what do you want to see them change, Spaffles? I mean, we saw the McGinnis, we saw the Kelvin, we saw the Yamato. All of these can be very powerful in their own way, but do you want to see specifically change, or do you think it's more just watching them play? They need to kind of go back to the drawing board.
I think ultimately what I want to see is I want to see more traditional damage dealers. I want to see them really come out swinging. Like the McGinnis, it was a proof of concept, but there are still a lot of limitations, especially when you have people running you down, when they're running straight at your face. The Venator, also a really good idea in theory, but the way that it was executed upon didn't quite work out, and especially when you're running a really greedy build like that, when you're running with Glass Cannon as your really only form of fire rate. Actually, no, they did actually pick up a burst fire as well, but when you're running Glass Cannon, you really need to snowball your leads. You need to get kills, you need to stay alive. And I think in the situation that you're in, if you're Texas A&M that match, you really can't be making a purchase like that. Now, as we're getting ready to reset, we're going to go into that next matchup. There is definitely some room for improvement, although I do think that they can still continue to play their style. I don't think it's inherently flawed.
All right, well, good thoughts there. We'll go ahead and head to that short break like you were mentioning. When we come back, game number 2, the final game of the evening here between Texas A&M Maroon as well as U of T. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
There's my favorite
In time, all men die. The gun just speeds things up. Pride!
There's my favorite jazz singer.
Candles are lit. They walk in through the door, clad in silken robes. The lamps on the floor. Pursuit of power, fireworks and stars.
speeds things up. Try!
There's my favorite jazz singer.
Candles are lit. They walk in through the door, clad in silken robes. The lamps
All right, hello everybody, and welcome back. We've got game 2 of our best of 2 series between University of Toronto and Texas A&M Maroon Squad from the university. And yeah, so for him, U of T took it in a pretty decisive fashion. What are you looking forward to heading into game 2?
I mean, I'm looking forward to maybe a little bit faster play. There was a moment about mid-game where we saw U of T start to recognize that, hey, starting to win these battles, especially when you have the reju beads on you, I desperately feel like if you're facing off against a top team later on, they're not going to let you sit like that. And if they're in that same position, they're going to kind of push you at a faster pace to end the game a little bit faster as well. Now, I did like the fact that you pointed out that there were some changes. Obviously, once you take the base Guardians, you don't want to hop right away into taking those shrines. You don't want to rush it down that way. But I do feel for U of T, they had a very structured composition. The Billy the Page and everything like that were synergizing very well. And I think they could have rolled out a victory a little bit faster instead of waiting for, I think at one point it was the 3rd mid-boss drop for them to be able to finish off the game. So for U of T, I want to see the same composition, I want to see the same style, but I want to see it executed at a much cleaner pace.
Yeah, that was pretty well said. There, when it comes to like you mentioned, right, the better teams will force you to end the game faster. Otherwise, they'll find more opportunities, more vectors here to get into the game. Definitely did feel like U of T, they really fell into a little bit of complacency, just to slow the game down, collect all of your neutrals and slowly play from there. When we're looking at the draft, though, right, we have a lot of opportunity to change things up compared to the last time. Namely from Texas A&M, I want to see more of those carries get picked up early. I don't want them to be left towards the end. And when we look at the bans, we have a Calico and Wraith, same bans from the teams, settling into a little bit of a norm.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Again, you just want to take out that big DPS carry at the end of the day. It's just very annoying to deal with. So it makes sense. Last time we took a look at this, though, it was, as you mentioned, pretty hefty on that Moe and Curl side. It looks like it'll be drafted once more. Pretty much pick or ban at this point for a lot of the teams. Just that easy access to the CC. The Pommel Party is just brutal to deal with. To match pace, though, last time we saw the Venator come out of TMU, which they're now on that first pick starting side. So maybe a little bit different in there. It will be a lock in of the Venator, though, so
okay.
Might be looking at a little spicy run back.
Yeah, I'm interested that these teams are, willing to swap the drafts from last round just so mirroredly, at least so far, right? Although I am expecting to see the Venator get played into more of an M1 carry playstyle. I mean, we sort of saw it from Texas A&M. They invested a lot into grenades early, and then they went into more gun damage focused items. U of T, they do have an opportunity to make a little bit of a difference. Dreamlion has before played some melee Venator up on the stage, so there is an opportunity here for this to be flexed and then misclicked their M1 carry player to pick up a different character. And we've seen U of T get very comfortable with their Mirages, with their Wardens, and now it's actually going to be a Billy that gets picked up next. A little bit more frontline wouldn't do you bad.
Yeah, I like it. They've also locked away a lot of that DPS factor that the Venator can have. I remember a moment where TMU Maroon basically came around a corner, was able to hold University of Toronto. It was one of the first few team fights that University of Toronto actually lost because of the Venator. Now you have it on your side, you have it paired with the Billy. You can pretty much ensure that those stakes are going to drive home a lot of force against the opponents. And so for Texas A&M Maroon, you're going to be sitting there going, okay, we're in this position once more. And as Spaffel said, we need to make sure we get some true yeah, you can't be going situation of having, you know, just a simple bystander in these situations.
Yeah, and we see Texas A&M, they're rolling out that Page. Page, really big deny against that Billy, and I think it was you that said it the first time around. Billy, a lot of his power comes unlocked once you have that Page to back you up with the shields, with the cleanses, with the extra healing that she provides. So, you know, Texas A&M getting to deny that is pretty good, but now that you're locking in your third ban here, we're looking for some damage. I mean, Paradox is a very strong initiator with the recent changes. She's become more of like a gun hybrid sort of off carry, but okay, certainly it's a lot more damage and it's trending in the direction that we wanted it to go, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Paradox will be a fun one to watch for and a fun DPS to follow through on, but for Texas A&M, you want to have a large early game presence with it. So, you know, the swap, the extra damage comes through. It's not amazing, but we'll see if it can change in favor for Texas A&M. Remember, that was their first DPS drafted here in game number two, which means University of Toronto get their Sinclair once more. That Sinclair did a lot of work back in game 1, a lot of magical moments, a lot of bunnies jumping around. It's a problem. Big time problem, and University of Toronto were gifted that ability once more. Huge pickup for them.
Yep, now as we transition here into our next set of bans, it's going to be University of Toronto taking the Pocket off, and Texas A&M, they're going to re-ban that Ivy. So Pocket's really, really strong. I mean, we all saw the amount of impact that he had. You know, the spotlight might have been shown on that Warden, on some of the bigger, like, flashier damage people, but Pocket was always, you know, really integral to those team fights, to taking him out of contention here. Does deny Sinclair from a decent ult that they could steal for themselves, but I don't think they're really at a shortage for now.
Yeah, and I actually wonder about this because you look on the other side, there's not a substantial amount of healing just yet. The Paradox will have a little bit of a swap, but it's on the HP bar. It's not like not like a little extra in the back pocket. So the fact that they opted to ban out the Pocket instead shows that they're going for a little sustain of their own. University of Toronto now grabbing that McGinnis, forcing less and less comfortability from Texas A&M. When we saw the Mo and Krill, it was great for them. When we saw the Page and Paradox, we're a little bit questioning, and now we got to see what those last few picks for this Maroon squad are going to be.
Yeah, and I really do like, you know, McGinnis sitting in this comp a little bit better, even if she still does invest really heavily into that damage, into that barrage, her ultimates. She does still have that heal that she provides. She does still have some good CT on her wall, and when you're not drafting her into a triple support comp, I think that that's really where she's going to shine a lot more. You see Texas A&M, they're going to lock in that Warden, and I guess it's another big deny pick, right? Warden. As with the rest of this team so far from Texas A&M, they're drafting a little bit more early game heavy. This is going to be a really strong mid game comp, especially when you max out that Cage, get that silence in. You know, they're going to be looking very fearsome.
Yeah, I like it overall. Now we're looking at the last two picks to come on through. Texas A&M going to be hoping to hone in on maybe a fresher DPS, and there it is, the tried and true style of the Lash and Warden, a combination as true as time itself for Deadlock. It makes sense. You got the CC, you got that variability in there. It's time for Texas A&M to really try and gain victory for themselves.
Yep, Lash incredibly good during those team fights, although does require them to be taken out in the open. You have to be very peculiar about where you fight with the Lash. Because if he's not able to use those buildings, use the height to his advantage, he's really going to start to struggle. So there is some potential there for the location and the environments to really hamper him, especially when you have a Kelvin Dome coming through. Kelvin is just a massive source of AoE healing, of AoE utility. You're going to really struggle to catch them off guard unless you really wait out some of his big moves.
Yeah, I mean, the Frozen Dome is one of the most blatant disregards to any sort of engagement, any sort of pull or anything like that.
Yep.
We saw it used almost counterproductively in the previous game, but that was because University of Toronto were able to kind of run roughshod over that matchup. We are taking a look at the last pick for both teams, though. As for Texas A&M, you're kind of going, okay, we got to figure something out. The final pick, though, is a B-block for University of Toronto, going all with this triple DPS threat of the McGinnis, the Sinclair, as well as the Fentor, and then one to sit with long-range artillery. Just being this bot makes me so excited to see what's gonna go down with these comps.
Yeah, there's, you know, so much multifaceted damage here. Like I said, there's just so much artillery, so much range. And we see Texas A&M, they lock in that Victor. We had a little bit of a bait last round where we thought it was going to be a Victor, but it ended up being a Viscus. Now it is actually the Frankenstein's monster himself. So a lot of really strong late game insurance. I think University of Toronto are really going to struggle into him if he's able to scale, if he's able to build those Infinity Stone items, you know, get the Infuser, get the, you know, escalating exposure, all of those. So really strong composition here from both of these teams going around. You know, going to give a little bit of a read ahead, right? We're expecting Texas A&M to really take that early game advantage. The University of Toronto, they're not doing too shabby for themselves, especially later on.
And I think that one of the big things that we saw University of Toronto looking very confident after that game number 1. We heard a little bit of the banter in our own side channels. I can understand that, you know, even though they have, you know, been waiting for this opportunity, they are going to draw a lot of blood here. If that McGinnis gets rolling, that's great. If that Sinclair gets rolling as well, that's great. If Venador is able to really pop off in this instance, there's so many good targets to look for those finishers, especially with a Lash and Warden. These two love to play on kind of the edge of their seat when it comes to HP departments. I want to see University of Toronto be able to come out with the victory, especially with the speed bop. I want to see the hooks land left and right and just denying people a good time.
Yep, that is, I think, going to be one of the big deciding factors is can this speed bop hook people? Especially if you want to be extra greedy, you combo a hook into a shelter, into an ice dome, and wow, you're just completely gone. Although Texas A&M, they do have some utility that can go through that barrier, like the Page ulti. You're going to really, really struggle to support your isolated teammates. Now, given from the rest of this draft, I can pretty safely say this is not going to be a melee Venator. You know, fun fact for all of you that are out there in the chat.
I mean, we're not going to stop you from trying, but
I mean, hey, we have some pretty funny numbers going in behind the scenes, right? Last time the melee Venator was picked, it was actually coin flipped for between Big Fat B and Dream Lion, who were really excited at the opportunity to do that. And then the melee Venator proceeded to get parried not one, not 2 times, but 15 times in the laning phase. So
it's the fact that they kept track of it. It's the fact that they kept track of it is the funnier part about it. That's where you're just like, all right, it might be warranted. It might be warranted in there. So hopefully they have had time to practice because we are heading into the game for this game number 2. Keep in mind, University of Toronto currently up 1-0 here in this best of 2. They're looking to do a little bit more with that name as well. If they can get started, they'll go ahead and put their kind of motion in plan for what is going to be a nice little start on the edge. The Mo and Krill looking to juggle a little bit more.
Yeah, we're seeing some familiar lane matchups here compared to last time. We got a Venator and a Kelvin running into this Paradox Warden. They're going to be a pretty high damage lane, although Kelvin does take a lot of the edge off of that for U of T. We're looking over into the middle lane. You've got Bebop Sinclair, absolutely huge Spirit Nuker, is going to be able to dish out a lot of damage if you get just a little too close. So it's going to be a really big struggle here for that Page, for that Victor to lane into them, at least in an active capacity. And when you're looking over at the left side lane, right, you've got Mo and Krill and Lash. I'm not really expecting to see too many kills there, especially since, you know, we don't have a Mo and Krill that's level 1 at 50 HP under their Guardian already.
That was a very rough moment, by the way. When I pointed that out, I was just like, you know, it's a thing, but it is a very dangerous thing to have situated for you. So, as you said, University of Toronto might not have to deal with that. There's going to be a little bit of a look, though, as Fractal is looking a little bit better on this Billy once more. No major catches and no major threats, but might be enough to just cause a stir. Doesn't really feel like anyone wants to make that first big dangerous move, but for University of Toronto, early push on the Guardian in the mid, already taking down about 20% HP on it. Burn coming through with the Arctic Beam, slowing down everyone, including this Warden, who is now in a 1v2. I don't think they like being here. So it's a nice drive back. Texas A&M University protecting their Warden.
Yeah, it was a really solid trade. Grenade freezing your stamina regen entirely now instead of just being a slow. Really hurts Warden here as a 3-stand hero, and he was able to make his way out of it, and we did see the Kelvin had a bit of a misplay, so giving the advantage back over to Texas A&M. Now they're leading in behind that Guardian. Misclicked is the first one to fall, pretty uncharacteristically of him, and that is a whole solo kill's worth of souls going over to Paradox.
I don't think we were really expecting that either. Gigabyte, who in the previous game had a little bit of a struggle trying to kind of come out with that victory and just kind of got put down into the ground afterwards. Great opener. I give him a lot of credit. You open up strong. Now you can look to bring that Paradox, this kind of a solo interesting pick, to the forefront and cause a lot of members of the University of Toronto to look your way.
Yeah, we can also see their Styler going back at it again with the really aggressive box routes. Jungling deep into your opponent's territory, never really showing fear no matter the odds. And it does look like Texas A&M, they're going to respect it this time. Whether or not they spotted him is another story, but last time they had chased him pretty deep and pretty far. Now that we're setting up again, though, we see the Lashmill and Krill there, taking some poke from their opponents.
Yeah, Mo and Krill, never a fancy one for the left side lane. In the mid, though, it's a whole different story, as that was a parry, I believe, that caught them a little bit off guard. And for Plague, you're trying to sit back for the moment. It really does feel like for University of Toronto, this mid lane has been their main prio in terms of getting some of those victories in. They've used it to proper essence. Guardian still being whittled away, close to about 60% left before being locked down for good.
Yep, now this is, sort of what we expected to see out of this lane. You're not really going to be able to remove a Mo and Krill with the amount of sustain that they have. And I think I saw like a big 350 health heal just off of one ability cast. But they are able to get some good tower damage in, and now we see a big parry come out onto the Bebop. Pissed is able to do so much damage, but it's going to be a parry in return during that page route. Now 75 HP drops down to 19. And while he was able to get the bomb off there, it wasn't enough to secure the kill.
No, it wasn't. Nice job by Piss, coming back with a little bit of vengeance on this page. Stole it away from University of Toronto to get a little bit of a side angle themselves. This is going to put Texas A&M Maroon up in terms of the souls count. Even though it's only 1,000, it's not that much. It still feels like a win in their book. The small wins will lead to bigger wins, and big wins leads to the overall win of the game. Maybe even the series in the future when you reach those playoffs.
Yeah, now both of these teams are going to be trading out bridge buffs. One went UFT's side, A&M's. They were stacking pretty hard on it, so I didn't quite catch exactly what they were, but we see McGinnis here with gun buff. The Lash, diving in really deep. The wall cuts off his escape plan, but no harm, no foul. He's able to make it out anyways.
I think you're more than okay with that one if you're the McGinnis. On the flip, though, Texas A&M, both Pissed and Macro, are taken extremely low. We're watching the right side flank, though, as this is a whole different story. Gigabyte still able to walk away with one. Looking for yet another, but Big Fat B on the flip. He's able to mark territory once more. 2 kills total, though, in one direction for Texas A&M, as they only lost one on the left side field. Mid, though, loses their Guardian, so for University of Toronto, they're saying it's a worthwhile trade.
That is really good if you're Texas A&M, and really bad if you're University of Toronto. Seeing this Warden get accelerated further, get a double kill, is really huge for the character. It helps them hit their mid-game spikes a lot faster. But on the flip side there, UFT, they've got a lot of ground to make up for. We do see a trade happening off screen where Big Fat B trades their life for Encores. I wonder how that happened.
I wonder as well, but we'll figure that out in the end. I think here this is all about just getting that Lash the ability to kind of punch on forward and look for a grab at the end of the day. A little bit of fight here on the left side lane as everyone's kind of gathering here. At least 3 bodies on either end, and that can lead to a dangerous score. The fact that they rotated Johnny in for the mix, but is it going to be enough? As off the sandbags they go, chasing up a little bit higher. Basic gun damage gonna poke Plague down quite low, and here comes the chase that they were looking for. Punch back from the Guardian, but the mark by John locks them down. Great chase by University of Toronto. They'll use this time to bring even more damage to the left side flank.
Yeah, we see here on the side as well, Styler catching out this Victor, turning them into a bunny, and is able to get a decent amount of damage there, and Macro Jesus does not have the ultimate resurrection available, so things could start looking pretty scary if he starts to push himself a little bit too far. I do notice as well there's an egg in his inventory, so definitely playing here for the long term. As we, zoom into the other side of the map, it's a really nice swap there onto Misclick. He's having a pretty rough go of things as Gigabyte just seems to have his number.
I think this Paradox is surprising him a lot more. Those adjustments that you talked about back in the big patch has really yielded results. 3-0-1 so far, going for the M1 carry style. And it's only going to continue 6.7k in their favor. They'll look to kind of apply that maybe more towards the mid now, but at the current moment they're just rotating around, looking for a chance at a drop and where that most likely place would be after all the camps are cleared.
At Texas A&M are all up in U of T's double buffs, or double centers here, and they're going to be able to cover their own, actually, as we see the Billy from Fractal just getting forced out entirely. It didn't quite catch if he was able to get one of the centers or not, but again, this is another brutal extension, or a start, even, of their soul lead.
Barrage is almost ready.
Oh, lots of pings going down, as right now Gigabyte is on fire with their wins. We're seeing a meeting of the minds here in the mid so far. A little bit of a look here as a Big Fat B. You're saying you're doing all right. The center sacrifice will be punched out more ways than one. You walk away with a hefty chunk of change in your own pocket, 1,600, enough to buy out on that healing right upgrade. I like it. I do appreciate it. Will it be enough? I have no idea.
Yeah, when we look at the solo allocation for both of these teams, you have a lot of it on the right people. When you're looking at Texas A&M, you really want to have your Warden there leading the charge. You have your Victor, who has a lot, though he is, getting a little bit critical fighting out those camps. University of Toronto, they're trying to, bring back that Venator there, just completing his call to sacrifice. He's strapping in for the long term, as this might be a bit of a longer round. We do see a bit of an engage here from the Paradox, not been able to finish off the kill there, but Plague comes out from behind the Frozen Shelter to secure everyone in place, and it's going to be the Sinclair stealing that Wombo combo. Not quite able to do enough damage there.
You're able to heal everything back up. You say no big deal, and now allows the laser to burn on out in the retreat. Texas A&M overextend ever so slightly and lose a member in return. That Bebop Hyper B is so powerful here. People look for a little bit more. No Ivy with the airdrop, but it's enough to deter another round of Texas A&M University Maroons. Strides at trying to kind of take them over from within.
Yep, now there is a bit of a fight here happening over the urn pickup. Sinclair is able to, make his way out pretty safely. And now both of these teams are rotating over onto the deposit point. Right, you see U of T playing a lot more defensively, making sure this Kelvin makes it there with, the full HP. The what we're seeing here from this fight is going to vary quite a lot, right? You don't have that Ice Shelter, you don't have Hyper Beam from Bebop if you're on University of Toronto's side. And then Texas A&M, they're also missing their combo, right? There are still some very big ultimate abilities that can be deployed. As we see here, the McGinnis one leads the charge.
I think for the McGinnis, you're kind of happy about where you're currently sitting, but there's a dive on in. Quick little arc as Janali drops a dream very, very quickly. Fractal will fall as well. Texas A&M saying, guys, we don't deal in uncertainties, we deal in truths, and the truth is, you're getting defeated, at least for the moment and a half. Big Factory chases out after that Hyper Beam. It feels much more personal as well for University of Toronto. This is where I think Texas A&M are starting to wake up, though. That's another mark as Janali wins out another duel, but they will drop to just a few other members on the other side. Big Fat B may or may not be landing all the hooks, but is surely landing the kills.
Yeah, that Bebop is getting mighty strong there in the background, and I do think it was an earned deposit there for UFT that would explain throughout the madness how they managed to go up in souls. Good trades there all around for both of these teams, right? Although obviously you don't want to see your Warden taking the fall too early. Now we do have a lot of fighting about to happen here on the left-hand side. Texas A&M, they're really threatening this Guardian. And what the Venator and Billy might not know is that there's a Mo and Krill just, lurking in the background ready in case things go further.
We'll see what more they can do. Even with Texas A&M winning a lot of these trades, they're actually behind a little bit in that Souls count. It might be because of this. Some of those kills have been very, very crucial. Styler able to make a mark and keep Big Fat B alive, but I love the idea of University of Toronto being like, hey, Killing Wheel Jewelry, man, that's not going to help everyone out. We're trying to help everyone out here, so we'll see where Texas A&M decide to deploy more antics. As the page says, hello to Styler.
Yeah, the Boundless Spirit getting picked up on top of a Rapid Recharge. The Sinclair is very well online. Nobody really wants to lane into him unless you have, your own full suite of defensive anti-spirit items. We're looking over onto the left-hand side of the map there. We have the Venator from University of Toronto. Misclicked is just getting collapsed on yet again. There's not going to be any chance for an escape as they don't even need the Paradox swap to finish the job. Now we're looking on the other side of the map again, and we have the Kelvin squad rolling up, defending actually against Texas A&M's ruthless barrage. They're not quite able to convert a kill off of the combo, and UFT, they look to be scot-free from this.
Yeah, I think UFT, they did very well. They pushed up the mid, didn't force it at all too much. They're able to keep the other side lanes a little bit more under control, so kind of like where they're at right now. They're more just worried about getting caught out in the transition periods because they know Texas A&M are starting to get hungry for these rare ganks, for these rare kills that can give them a little bit more of a lead. There's the eyes, though, and take a look where the Kelvin is. Kelvin, Dream Lion, ready to chase one more out and about, but teammate wasn't exactly the kind one, so instead you say, we'll hold off for a bit. We will wait in this corner pocket and just wait for someone to walk into the trap.
Yeah, now we are seeing some really big hotspots here. Bridge buffs are about to spawn in about 40 seconds, and UFT were able to successfully claim their double center sacrifices this time around with the help of the Kelvin. So that's a good change as compared to earlier. But now both of these teams, they seem to be playing pretty aggressively on this left-hand side of the map. UFT don't really want to give any space that they don't have to. Meanwhile, Texas A&M, it's really theirs for the taking, right? They have the Lash ult, they have the swap, and just as I say it, the swap gets pulled out onto Styler. Doesn't have the assistance off cooldown, so he is going to take the fall. Now, Frozen Shelter does come out. The Billy is able to fight pretty well into it, and the Janali gets taken down next. We have the Mo and Krill on the retreats. He's able to juke them now.
I mean, I like that initiative, though. Once again, for University of Toronto, they're more than willing to try and sacrifice in favor of saving their teammates. Styler going down there was just like, okay, guys, we're gonna make some magic happen here. For University of Toronto, I want to see them keep pressuring out. They got the mid. They're trying to hold on to the last Guardian, which at this point in time is not so different than Texas A&M on the right side battlefield doing the exact same, hanging on to their Guardian. Who's going to break first is the big question to me. Who is going to allow that crack to come through and make almost all other principles that they value previously kind of go to naught?
Yeah, Encore there picks up the Urn, is able to escort it back to your teammates to carry it further, but it does look like a fight starting to break out. The Hyper Beam does go through, but is going to be canceled early just for safety. And we do also see a Billy just fighting in really deep. Fractal showing no fear.
I see Billy.
Whenever you see that kind of go through, it's a whole different story. What a shot, though. A style rocks forward in a different direction. The Venator gets swapped out, but not through that Paradox wire. Instead, it's just a straight up rundown. One is all you need. No time to pressure down another Guardian, so it is going to be space taken by University of Toronto, keeping their lead Johnny Encore is light, and it feels like the kills are slowly walking their way in. University of Toronto have built a composition that is starting to get a lot of big results. One more 3v1 for the road is what we're asking for.
Yep, Macro Jesus gets their ultimate popped, and there's not quite enough here to be able to secure that kill, right? Texas A&M, after securing that urn, are able to, rotate themselves over. So now they're going to be able to back out no issue. Now, 93k souls per team. The advantage has, all but dissipated. Now we do see Macro Jesus, 21k souls. The Warden from Encore, k souls. Still ahead of anything that University of Toronto are individually able to offer up against them, but as a team, things are a lot more even.
Yeah, it feels like the only thing that might be different is how many charges for their abilities have they been able to lock in, and are they going to be able to put them to very good use? Game number one went about 35 minutes. We kind of assumed that they could go a little bit longer, but it feels like the game was already decided about 20 to 25. I want to see that happen once more by University of Toronto, but for Texas A&M University, it's all about holding their own pride high as they look to centralize and bring the main support towards that mid.
Yeah, now one of the big mix-ups that's going to happen this round is Misclicked being so behind, or not behind, but set back compared to where they typically are, as that, position one, you're a major farming carry, he loves to split push. You're going to struggle here to 1v1 pretty much anyone from the Texas A&M cast, which means you're going to have to be forced a little bit out of your comfort zone. You either have to group with the rest of your team, or you're going to have to invest a lot more of that extra time just to scale yourself up in terms of souls. Now, both of these teams are grouping up onto that right-hand side. See the Bebop from Big Fat B, potentially looking for some big hooks as the Iridomini gets ripped.
As quickly as it got ripped, everyone's out of there. They don't want to fight that at all. University of Toronto on the chase, though, straight through a corridor alleyway, and it feels like Texas A&M might have found Encore. Look at the wrong way. Great chase, gives 2 more, 4-player kill streak for Johnny. Now, the question is, can they do more with it? Yes, they can. They find Siler Gigabyte able to answer back with 19,000 to their name. But really, is that going to be enough? Because that was just a push number 1. That is going to be the Guardian down. It's still favorable to University of Toronto. Souls, even. I'm sure there's more to the count than that.
Yeah, now with 2 members from Texas A&M down, University of Toronto, they're looking into this mid-boss. The roar does happen at 50% now, so they are given a little bit less time to react, but the Texas A&M roster, they're going to be able to walk in here. The wall is able to prevent them from getting down through that side path, and it's going to be an easy 3 rejuve secure for U of T.
I mean, that was by far one of the easiest mid bosses we've seen today. I think almost every single one in game number 1 had a very rough feeling to it. It always felt like there was another hand in the cookie jar. This time around, it was a smooth take. Nobody came in. No one tried to punch out to steal. They really didn't get that many kills either. 4 children in there just being able to hold onto that mid boss area and just taking it for their own.
Yeah, the wonders of the 20-minute mid boss. Mid isn't tanky enough to give up a really good fight, and you have just enough damage to really shut it down fast. Now, U of T emboldened by this rejuve, they're starting to take the urn over. It's another neutral urn. So I don't really foresee Texas A&M putting up too much of a fight. They would much rather trade things out on the opposite side of the map. And as I say that, we see Big Fat B getting collapsed on there by the Paradox.
Yep, and again, it's just Gigabyte. Gigabyte doing Gigabyte things. Of course, there was that Reju B to keep him alive for a little bit longer, so it's going to be more like teenagers scrapping it out a little bit further. Will they lose yet another Fractal? Waiting for that urn to be returned, so it might not be that big of a miss, but here comes that final stand. The Warden comes into play instead, and it's going to be a mark and a half. McGinnis taken low, but they are going to revive as well. Texas A&M may not be as they wish, but can they clear yet another body? Yes, they do. Johnny goes down again, and this time can't read you. Beautiful job. Dream Lion really focused on that walker, though, and that's the primary objective. So for University of Toronto, they say, hey, it's down, ready for the fight once more. The final stand shocks the rest, and Texas A&M go, where did our HP bars go? So far, Maroon have only gotten Johnny. The rest of the bodies live, and University of Toronto will call that a win for themselves.
Yep, able to secure that urn and defend your walker. You've gotten everything and a little bit more. Now it is going to be a further chase here on the retreating team. The Ensnare does catch out the Warden, and now it is also going to be the Mo and Krill. Able to walk away just a little bit longer, but that wall isn't quite what it used to be. The U of T, they're able to walk themselves through, and now they're waiting. Actually, they get ambushed by the Victor.
Yep, I mean, this ambush is perfect. This is something that we saw University of Toronto do before. Very well done in that collection. The last throwdown, though, might be able to turn the tides, but it's too little too late. Big Fat B says, where's the rest of your team, baby? It ain't nowhere close. Gigabyte, low HP, not wanting to stay. Instead, you're in critical condition, and Fractal will take your life instead. University of Toronto amping up the pace here at 22.5 minutes. They now know they are in concise control, and they will use that to their advantage. 2 walkers down in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, that acceleration is exactly what you want to see, and you even see the Sinclair, they're taking the zipline to go in even further. Isn't going to be punished, at least not yet, as the Sinclair still has the Regio Revive left as an option. There's going to be a nice grab there from the Bebop onto Pissed, and there's no coming away from that. Your Page, you're very, very squishy character.
Well, not just that, it's also the fact that you were talking about it, right? This Bebop, when we take a look at it in draft, you really need to see those hooks land. And I feel like what we're seeing from Big Fat B is not just these hooks being landed, but in prime locations. There's a situation where University of Toronto probably wouldn't have broken through on those base guardians, right? But because of that hook that came through, it afforded them an extra 30 seconds. Like, this is very sustained damage that the Bebop is throwing down against Texas A&M.
Yep. Now that, University of Toronto, they're sitting pretty happy with the amount of damage that they've been able to put in, right? Raising that base guardian. I think that there's not really too much that you can do in retaliation. You're behind by about 30k game position. The onus to destabilize the match, to make those big plays, shifts from University of Toronto to Texas A&M. They need to destabilize their opponents, potentially at the cost of trading out some of their other side objectives, right? Because if you let this University of Toronto team continue to farm up, continue to build up their advantage through your own jungle and theirs, this is going to be both a slow burn and also unwinnable.
Yeah, it's a very scary thought to be in right now. Texas A&M starting to realize the doors are closing on your access points to this game. You had some earlier. Gigabyte still 4-1-6, by the way. Still doing quite well for themselves at 23, but it's lagging behind a lot of what University of Toronto has to offer. It's a big push out, though. You have 6 on the map, pressuring every single lane, looking to try and get more souls in their pocket. But Macro Jesus, I mean, at 31,000 for their own, the Victor can do a lot of work if given the opportunity to unleash their power. Urn being dropped in. This could be a big pickup. I wonder who's going to get it.
Yeah, this Urn is going to be hotly contested here. Bebop corner peek and just waiting for his chance to snipe somebody. Is not going to be able to find that hook. But now it's a Victor who's walked into his face with the Infuser in tow. Not going to be able to do too much damage to that, as it's going to be the Bebop first kill taken down. And Texas A&M, they're pushing in for more.
I mean, I love that. That's one of the moments that you really have to take advantage of it, and you claw at the opportunity. Slap 2 away, you run away. For University of Toronto, it feels bad that that happened, but the Urn Rush will go in favor of Texas A&M at the end of the day. Well done for them to try and find a way back into this game, but now you're unstoppable. Everyone is right out in the midst, and you called it out earlier. The McGinnis can erect shop. It's a little bit congested, though. How much damage are you actually going to be able to bring out to the table? Not much. We just saw it utilized and nobody really went down, and now you're locked in the corner instead. Janali is like, you can't do it like me. Texas A&M will only lose one on return. Fractal trying to get some revenge for themselves, and maybe it does enough. That's two ripped away. University of Toronto able to salvage something out of that battle, but A&M still looking pretty dang good after that earn run.
Yeah, you get the urn, you get the walker on the side of the map too, and you also pick up yourself some pretty nice kills. Although U of T, they're kind of their lucky stars here. The kills, they went out onto the Bebop, they went out onto the McGinnis. So your carries are still able to continue to farm up. They're not taken out of the picture quite yet, though we do have a mid-boss call here from U of T. They're going to go in pretty aggressively, and now with the Paradox's multi-swap on board and Warden getting ready to change the world, I am expecting a big fight.
All right, well, there it is. University of Toronto able to lock down all three rejuves. Now, will the fight happen a little bit more? The schoolyard brawl is turning into an absolute war as Styler rips them all apart. It's once again the Sinclair untouched in the ban phase. Snaps away Janali, and encore calls for an encore of the battle itself as University of Toronto storm their way back to a 15,000 souls lead.
Wow, I mean, that fight was an absolute murder. You saw that they got very, very close to contesting that rejuve, but between the bunnies as well as more of the CC that University of Toronto, all of their heroes are able to take on, it really was able to disrupt them and prevent them from taking a proper straight-on fight. And then you see U of T, they're continuing to march in here, trying to race. Scarlet gets caught up with a little bit in midair. Frozen Shelter does come down as well.
I think right now at University of Toronto, they know that they won game number one, obviously. Game number two would do huge for their standings moving into the end of the season. They want a better standing. They just want to feel a little bit more comfortable, and they're going to try and give it to themselves. Nearly 200,000 souls to play with. They're just dancing in the top ropes. Encore trying to force everyone else out, but I don't think it's going to work. Here comes that last stand in the way. Down goes a Plague in the blink of an eye. Dream Lion able to read you back up to play, and Macro Jesus will lose their life as well. University of Toronto kicked down the front doors and says, we are here to stay whether you like it or not. Johnny, the only true fallen player for University of Toronto right now. But the base is in tatters as University of Toronto shatter one more, wipe the enemy team, and are looking for the Amber Shrines.
Wow, 50 seconds on the response here for Texas A&M. U of T are minimum going to be able to reach this patron. Now, they are fresh, so it's going to be a very aggressive play here if they want to try and end it out. Like I said, they're going to be opting in for a full retreat instead. I was about to say that Texas A&M, they are missing a lot of key elements. Although, again, this is, you know, with your standings on the line, you really want to play a little bit more safe, a little bit more guaranteed. So U of T, they're backing up, and they're getting some of these tier 3 camps.
I mean, they're not going to let this type of game go to waste. They're only 30 minutes in. Last time around, I think it took them about 37 to close on out. They have done immaculate work here. One more solid team fight will finish the entire game off, and Texas A&M recognized that as well. They're in a situation where they're going to have one final stand, and I gotta ask you, Spaffles, what would be the ideal team fight for Texas A&M Maroon if they were able, if they're able to kind of turn around this game?
I mean, I think it really all lays onto Johnny, right? With the Lash ults. Yes, Gigabyte being able to find one of those big Paradox swaps would be really nice, but U of T, they really haven't been affording them those opportunities. And, you know, after they got out of that early game to mid game laning phase, it's really been starving for that Paradox. And, you know, you're looking at the rest of your teammates, right? Your entire team basically is caught up to Texas's carries. Right, Misclick, they're sitting pretty at almost 50k. You've got a lot of damage coming out from your team, and now with the urn getting picked up, it's going to be a comeback urn for Texas A&M. But U of T, they got to make a decision. Do we run this urn? Do we risk it? Do we force that fight? Or do we want to stall out just a little bit longer?
I think at this point, the choice might be made for them. As you can see the collection, the urn being run once more. University of Toronto maybe looking to force a fight, or at least hold it out and away from Texas A&M's side. The Arctic Beam coming through for Dream Lion as they farm up even further. 35,000 to their name. Encore and Macro Jesus, the two big carriers, K in each of their banks. They'll be the ones to watch for. Will it be enough? Sinclair for their own as well. Styler has been magical, but only sitting on 40k as well. But Pure in that Spear energy, ready. Free fire. And they're looking to match up. Take a look at this. Battle lines being drawn right now. Same with itemizations.
Yep, no counter itemization, surprisingly enough, for the Victor, and given that he has all of his, mandatory tier 4s completed, this could be the big one that Macro Jesus has been waiting for, right? I saw there that Dreamline has the curse queued up, but it's not going to be ready for quite a while. It's an expensive item, and he had no souls. So going into this next fight, it's going to be really, really impactful here, and, at Texas A&M, they have all that pick potential, but... are they going to be able to pick someone right now? The urn is still here at play. Not sure what it is given the map though.
I think there was actually some nice tries and thank yous and well plays across both teams, as I think the urn run kind of ended in disaster on both ends. So it's like, all right, everyone go back to the drawing board. We're just going to wait it out once more. 30 seconds on the mid boss, though, is the big one to play for. And University of Toronto will be looking for that one for themselves. Time waning down once more. Inventories nearly completely full. I can only imagine that Styler, 5, 2, and 16, Fractal, 6, 1, and 13 for their own, are ready to make a massive ruckus here.
Yeah, we saw there just a minor, the Mo and Krell and the Kelvin see each other. They panic and run away after a short exchange in abilities. But it looks like both of these teams are both posturing around mid, potentially even looking at that mid boss. I know it's a bit scary to look at right away. But, if anyone's going to do it, it'll be U of T to really step into that pit first. We see here, Mo is very deep, gets the combo connect onto the Kelvin, and there's his health almost completely gone.
Well, no, it's not just completely. It is completely gone. Great Shatter number 1. Janali will also lose their life, but the resounding battle might be big enough. Dreamline isn't able to lay down that Ice Dome to hold them down, but Fractal wrecks their shot. Pissed walks on in after losing their own life, is able to answer back. This is a very close back and forth right now. It's coming down to the M1 carries like you talked about, but Styler and Misclick say we are the carries that you need in a situation like this as they wash through Texas A&M Maroon, and it's only Macro Jesus, the last one alive that had a mini rejuve as well. They will be swept out of the battle, and it is University of Toronto to make a race straight for the base.
Counter items, who needs them? We're just going to kill everyone around your Victor, and then we're going to take him down ourselves, as what you are saying, and they're laughing themselves their way back to the bank with this one. They're able to secure the second game win, the second round, and they're going to secure themselves into the third place of Group 1. So this fully locks Texas A&M out of finding themselves a better position in the standings. Now, both of these teams, like we said earlier, they're both making their way into the first round of playoffs. They're not going to be competing in that last chance qualification round that's going to be happening next week. But still, that's a really, really good outcome for you. And now Texas A&M, they have another series this weekend that they just got to go into, heads held high.
Yeah, they're going to do their best. And once again, it is Styler. This time, most assists, six player kill streak, most player damage, and most objective damage as well, claiming 5 accolades for themselves. Some maybe not as high as they wish, but beautiful work on this Sinclair that everyone should be very worried about moving forward.
Yep, absolutely terrifying. And we saw they're, doing the dirty work, getting in there from the back is going to be misclicked as well, right? Did so much heavy lifting for the team. Fractal did so much on the Billy, playing very aggressively, knowing how to play within their limits, even without that page, and getting away with it most of the time. And from Texas A&M, we did see, big plays there from Gigabyte. Was shown really, really brightly in the early game in combination with Encore, but was not able to convert it into a later game lead. And even though Macro Jesus did his best, right, played really, really well towards that later hand side of the game, the rest of the team was just not able to keep up with him. And, that's just how things go sometimes.
I think it's something for the side of Texas A&M Maroon to really look forward to and learn from. As you said, they have another series. They have a few more matches to complete, and then they have the playoffs to work towards as well. So much to think about and so much to look forward to in more ways than one. But for us on the evening, Spaffles, that is it. It was a fantastic match, and I enjoyed every single moment of it. From the chaos, the slow pace from the early stages to the final finale, fireworks, and all of the team fights.
Yeah, it really did build into like a really, really big crescendo, and I think it's a really good way to sort of close off this chapter. Now, like we said before, there are going to be last chance qualifiers next week, so if you're a big fan of CSU, GMU, Champ, those are our locked in teams for next weekend, and we also have 5 teams that have yet to make it into those last chance qualifiers. So make sure that you go tune in for that, and we'll be back with the main brackets over on the week of March 30th. So thank you all so much for tuning in. It was an absolute honor to be staying with you, Orbital, as well. Thank you to the production team behind the scenes, and this will be us signing off for tonight. Thank you.